Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on Polywine, where we like to get through a little bit of every kind of bit of stories pulled from the media, pop culture, current events, entertainment, strange news, politics, whatever we can break down, we'd like to break it down. So, we're not the news, but we'd like to pull stories from different various areas of media, social media, whatever we can find, and just kind of get into what's going on into our world. So, let's get into it. So, let's start off with some nonsense kind of stuff. I always like to get into a little bit of TV, start off with the fun kind of topics, and then get into a little bit heavier stuff as we get further in. So let's go over to Bravo. This past Sunday, they had the part one of the, I think it's season 8 reunion of The Real Housewives of Potomac. Potomac, I really like you. I like the cast. I like everybody about it. I am from the Mid-Atlantic area, so of the East Coast, so I like them a lot. It hits a little home for me, so I like those women. It has been a rough season for you. Not a lot of storyline. There has been a lot of conflict amongst the cast, so it's been rocky. There hasn't been a lot of storyline. There hasn't been a lot of content behind it. Karen Huger, I love your triple 20. I think that's a great thing. I hope you trademark that. That's a good one. But not a lot of story. The issue with Mia, Miss Mia, thank you. You are aware of your assignment for your job, and you brought it this season. You brought the story, you brought the conflict, you brought the emotion, and you brought a little bit more than that. I'm going to tell you, the part one of the reunion was really the Mia show. Ashley, you haven't had much of a storyline. You're cute and sweet. Candace, I really like you, Candace, but Candace has admitted that just recently that she's stepping away from the show. I'm not sure if that was her choice or the choice of the show, but she is stepping away. And it's unfortunate. I did like Candace. I thought she was funny, smart. I think she was really quick-witted. But her downfall is she could really double down on the meanness. And even though she was trying to bring that everybody else was mean and was full of malice and maligned with others to work against her, her mouth is what kind of got her in trouble. And you did hear Giselle talk about that often. It was her mouth. And I think her mouth and how she was just totally could be quite vile on social media definitely was her downfall. So I'm sorry, Candace. I hate to see you go. I thought you were quite good for the show. But I think you hurt yourself in certain situations. So she is out. I don't know if she will come back on. It wasn't a great season. I definitely think they do need to mix it up. But Mia, your storyline, wow. It was enough. You carried the show this season. You really did. And thank you, Andy, for leaving the cliffhanger on this part one reunion that does ink her boyfriend, who's actually been in and out of her relationship while she has been married to Gordon for, I think they said 11 years. I think she said that they were married, or that's what I read, is 11 years of marriage. He's been out. I guess he was high school sweetheart. Life got in the way. They moved away, time, distance, whatever it is, and they reunited. I'm not sure the dynamic of Mia's and Gordon's relationship from the beginning, but it has come out through the last several episodes, and I think it was always in the air, right? That they had a very interesting relationship, and give it to Mia. I mean, the woman puts it out there. She seems to be pretty honest about most things, and I do respect that. It's not always the most complimentary things that she has to say about her past, her situation, what she's dealt with, how she's grown and evolved. But she seems to be quite truthful about it, and that I appreciate it, because on so many of the other housewives shows, they want to put their best foot forward and their best image, even though, just like everybody out there on social media, it's very filtered and very edited, and they want to put their best image out there, and that's not always the situation. Mia, you definitely know that honesty and truth sells, no matter how pretty and ugly, because life is complicated. Life is really complex, and it can be messy. And, you know, marriages can be complicated, and it sounds like you and Gordon have an interesting relationship. It sounds like you have an arrangement, and you came out, and he was upfront in the very last episode before the reunion that after he battled with a lot of his health issues, that he and you had an arrangement where you could step out of the marriage and have a commitment with others and relationship on whatever level it may be. Just there were rules and I guess parameters of what you could do with that agreement and whatever it may be. But he felt that you didn't follow them, and he's hurt and he's upset and he's going through a lot right now, I guess, with the lawsuits and his family dynamic and with that whole business situation, just in a very ugly legal mess. And now he's got his marriage going through. He seems hurt and emotionally explosive, and unpredictability in situations like that. You just never really know what you're going to get. And Mia, I'm not aware what's coming up on the next several parts of the reunion, because I think there's a part 2, definitely a part 3. I'm not sure if there's another one after that, but I feel for you, because anyone with that level of emotion and that unpredictability, and at that point where they really feel like they have nothing left to lose, I'm fearful what he's going to let out of the bag about your relationship, your past, things that you're pretty honest, but we don't need to have every detail out there. And it sounds like she has a lot of pain in her past. And I hope that he doesn't get too below the belt and bring it up. And I feel like it's going to go in the direction. So Mia, my heart goes out to you. My heart goes out to your children. Unfortunately, a lot of this stuff is coming up about the children, because the cliffhanger was that Andy had asked Mia, does this new guy in your relationship, or the relationship that Gordon you have, now that you're separated, your new boyfriend, who was once your boyfriend from your past, pre-marriage, does he think that one of your children is actually his biological child? And she responded openly, yes. And I feel for that, because eventually that's going to get out there. The kid's going to find out that in time. And that revelation to that child can be quite hard. And I feel for them. So, Mia, thank you for bringing it to a very dull season. Great on you. And I can't wait for part 2. Karen, your makeover looks great, but I can't understand what you say half the time, because I don't know if you got new veneers or what it is, but you look gorgeous. Giselle, always love you. I do like the new girl. NECA, she's great. Wendy, I do like you, Wendy, but you got to calm it down. Like, you really come for it a little too aggressive, and I don't think that's really complimentary of you. You're such a smart, beautiful, intelligent woman, and you're just so successful, and you seem to be so with it in so many areas. So to see the little things get to you so much, I don't know. You got to bring it in. I don't know if she's coming back for the next season. I haven't looked that up yet, but we shall see. Ashley, you got to bring something else. You really got to bring something else. So hopefully we'll have some more friends of the cast come into the next season, and that storyline will come in. But we shall see. So moving on to another Bravo show, let's go to Vanderpump Rules. With Vanderpump Rules, I have to say, I like it. I have never been a fan of Tom Sandoval. I have never been a fan, really, of either of the Toms. I think Tom Schwartz is kind of aloof, and he just goes along with everything, but I think that he can be quite manipulative especially with Katie and how he is in the relationship with other people. He does the whole, oh, I'm a nice guy, but I do a lot of crummy things, but just, oopsie, oh well, I'm nice at heart. I just make a lot of mistakes. And you're at the point in your life and at the age in your life where you need to learn by your mistakes at this point. If you haven't, then you probably never will, and relationships are probably going to be difficult for you because you haven't really learned any of those core lessons to have a somewhat of a normal or stable relationship, because no one will ever trust you because you're always, oh, I can, but I can't, I will, but I'm not, and oh my gosh, I'm just a nice guy, but I don't know anything, so I'm going to make really poor decisions and a lot of really bad choices, and oopsie, you're just going to have to forgive me because, oops, I'm a nice guy. That does not play in your 30s and 40s, and Katie has tried along the way, whatever her method may be. If you liked it, didn't like it, it obviously didn't work out because she divorced you. But you need to learn by now. You'll need to learn by now. And Katie, thank God you got away. As a woman looking to another woman, that was a healthy relationship for you. I know you tried. I feel like you had the complex that a lot of the women do in the world, that I can change him. He's a nice guy. He's young. He'll grow. He'll learn. He'll mature. He'll change. I can change him. That guy's never going to change. It's kind of a hopeless cause. And I wish the best for you. And I think you're going to have a great time. And you're smart. I think you're funny. I do really like your how cynical you are and your cynicism, and just how you look through everything with very heavy filtered glasses. And I think that's great. I have a lot of those similar characteristics, and personality traits. So I get it. I'm here for you. Never been a fan of Tom Sandoval. I always thought that he was a total douche to both Katie and Tom's relationship. He's always was a saboteur. He always stuck his foot right in the middle of everything. So I completely understand Katie's rage and just disdain, quite frankly, for Tom Sandoval. I've never liked them. So the fact that everybody for a while was really angry with him was great. But now you're starting to see the shift of the cast in the show. And I understand that the cast has a job to do. They are a cast, and if you want to make a good show, you're eventually going to have to, some point, no matter how much you like or dislike each other off camera, you still have to film together, and you have to make it an enjoyable show. You have to have stories, you have to work together, you have to show up and work together and film together. So there's a job to do. Pardon me. So there is something to be said that they're trying to make it work, even though you can tell a lot of each other don't like one another off camera. But I like the fact that Katie is ride or die Team Ariana. She never liked Tom Sandoval in the first place. So the fact that there is a reason to go after him, because he was a dick to her. She said since the entire time, I've never liked this guy. This guy's a manipulator. This guy, I hate to use the word gaslighter to a lot of people, but he kind of is. I really hate that word. I think it's really played out, but he really is. He just coasts by. He's just gross. I'm sorry, Tom. Don't mean to be nasty, but let's just go back to the beginning. Do you not remember when you first started Vanderpump Rules, how Kristen was a crazy one? And let's just be honest. Kristen does have a lot of crazy moments, but Kristen wasn't wrong. Were you cheating on Kristen with Ariana? Yes. But you made her feel like she was the ridiculous one. She was the crazy one. She was this and that because she called it out. Like, hey, I heard that you were cheating. Are you cheating? And no, I'm not. You made her look like the crazy one. You played it out. Well, you did cheat and you moved on. Poor Ariana. She thought she could change him. She thought that she would be the one that would be the person that, since he gave up so much, that he would change for her. And he didn't. He did the exact same thing to Ariana that he did to Kristen many, many years later. And, he's the same guy, same ghost guy. He's never going to change. And now that the cast is shifting back, well, I know he did wrong. Tom Sandoval did wrong. I know we're not going to judge you for your past, and you shouldn't judge people from the past. But if you do not learn from your mistakes and you keep repeating that pattern, and you know that individual, no matter how many cold tank showers they take, or how many therapy sessions or screen therapy sessions, whatever that was that he did the last episode, that's not going to change him. He is who he is, and he's too long in the tooth, an expression to say about he's older now, to change. He's not going to change. Not going to change. So you got out, Katie, with your Tom. Ariana, I'm so sorry that he blew up your world, threw everything to shit, but I am so happy that you got out, because this was never going to change. You were always going to be waiting, and the disrespect at the end of the day that he showed to you and to Katie, the Toms in general. So those two Toms, yeah, they're perfect for each other. And at the end, that's who they're going to end up with, is each other, because they're going to sabotage all of their relationships, and they're going to take down and just really slow down any other significant person in their life that they're going to be in a couple relationship with. So you got out, Katie. You got out, Ariana. Good on you. This past episode that aired where she was at the water tasting thing for Lala, it came out. Like, you could just see just the months of frustration and anger, and the fact that they have to be filmed together. There's going to be those situations, but you know it's going to be tense. And from the show, they have a mediary that kind of sets the tone in their house. They're still living in the same house. That must be a house of horrors. It must suck to live in the same space with somebody you can't stand. You don't want to hear them breathe. You don't want to see them. You don't want to smell the air that they've walked through. It must just be just an absolute prison. So she just bought a new home. Ariana, congratulations to you. You're getting out. Good on you, girl, because it sounded miserable. And Tom's assistant, Anne, who really has been the takeaway character of the season so far. Everyone loves Anne. Anne is Tom's assistant, Tom Sandoval's assistant, but you can tell she just loves Ariana, and she seems so cute and so sweet and so innocent, and she just wants to please everybody. So I go with Ariana and drop Tom. You're never going to go anywhere with that guy, and he's making you clean his house. Disgusting. That is not probably part of your job detail, and if it is, pull it out. That is not. You are his assistant, not his cleaning assistant, okay? Grody. Tom, and shame on you for asking her to do that. That is not her job. Not her job. So leave him. You deserve to leave him, Anne. She's been great. Everyone loves Anne. So, I mean, they have to go through Anne, Tom's assistant, to see when they can come through the house, when they can walk. Can I use this area of my house? I want to invite friends over. That must be miserable. So you see the buildup in this episode where after the water tasting, and they had that really refreshing water, that they get into the fight because everybody else in the friend group is starting to side with Tom. Well, not side with him. They all know what he did was wrong, but they just really can't handle the pressure of trying to film together and being stuck with one another. And this guy, he's getting it from all angles, and he's really struggling emotionally, so he seems to say on camera. But he also seems to be really liking the attention as well, because he's still traveling, he's still touring, he's still getting attention, he's still posting on social media. So to me, I'm sure he has regrets because he got into a lot of trouble and got a lot of backlash and hate for it, but still not changing his ways. He's still being pretty gross and still putting himself out there. So he doesn't seem to have too much remorse, in my opinion. So, goes back to still following the same pattern as he always did. He's not going to change. So just to know, future girl out there, or whoever, future possible relationship, that's who he is. So that's what you're going to get. So you know, to see them get into that fight was raw. And I know he's going to spin it because he started off, you need to respond to my email because he's put his attorney sent, Tom's attorney sent Ariana a letter so he could buy her out of the house. And she's like, don't speak to me. You can speak to my attorney. And now that everybody else is like, well, you guys are going to have to talk. And eventually at some point you're going to have to get together. And everybody's starting to soften for Tom Sandoval. I'm sure it's getting to her because she's like, hold on, you guys were my ride or die not that long ago. And now that he has to come back in, you're softening up for him. And now you're going to, take his side. And what he did was wrong. And that's really pretty messed up. And I'm sorry, Team Ariana on this one. And she exploded. There's been such a slow simmer that has been a slow boil that it just finally boiled over the pot. And good on you. And everybody wanted it. It happened. And I hope you don't get much backlash for it online, Ariana, because it was well-deserved. And I'm sure. And he already made the comment, Tom Sandoval, at the end of the episode. Do you see? This is what I had to deal with the whole time. Oh, well, of course. Because when you make poor decisions, Tom, and it affects other people, Tom, and people have to go back and clean up your shit, Tom, and, and everybody has to deal with the consequences of your actions, Tom. Yeah, you might piss them off, and you might get a little bit of backlash from your partner from it, but she's still stuck by you, ride or die, right? And you still wanted your cake and have it too. And she looked a lot of things and put that aside in your past, in your relationship, and you still did it again. Everyone has their breaking point. So Ariana, I am with you. And I hope that your other friends that are starting to soften, starting to waver, for Tom because he's the victim and he's just so sad. I hope that they see the light and come back to you. Okay? Lala, I love you. You were also somebody scorned, and I understand where you are in a position. I have made mistakes in my past and I want to move forward. Lala, I love you, but girl, please stick with your girl. She needs it. And I like all the women on the show, so good on you. I have to say, congratulations to Ariana. She is moving forward. She's doing great. She just nailed down the host position of Love Island USA. I am excited. I think she'll be great. She is a writer. She was a screenwriter, and she has a comedic background too. So I think she'll be great. She's very quick-witted. She's fast with her comments. I think she has wisdom and depth to her, and she's funny, and can be stern too. So I think she's going to be great. So Team Ariana, I hope everything went well on you as Roxy on Broadway. I now am excited to see where you're going to go with Love Island. I think you're going to be great. I think you're going to be successful, and kudos to you, girl. Now, I don't know if you've started watching the show, The Valley. I've only dabbled into it a little bit. It's hard for me to watch the show. I think Jax is horrible. He's entertaining to watch. Brittany, I like you. I think you're sweet. I think there's a lot of charm to you, but you have put up with that stuff with him for so long, and you have excused a lot of his behavior, and you've given it a pass, and you've covered up and defended a lot of that behavior. So although I think you're really sweet and cute, it's hard for me to give you a pass at this point because you enabled a lot of that bad behavior. So I am very sorry that you are in a difficult situation right now. You are separated from him, and good on you, girl. Way overdue. I think you kind of were with a lot of those other women in the Vanderpump Rules. You met them young when you were younger. You thought you were to change them and change that bad boy image to a good guy with, kindness and love and giving them structure and showing them what a I guess you could call what a typical normal relationship would be, if whatever that may be. But yeah, the guy's just to the core an absolute douche. He's a dick, and he's never going to change. And he's as self-absorbed as they come, as narcissistic as they come, and just gross. And good looking, yes, but a horrible person. And eventually, and now, I mean, the guy's had so much plastic surgery done. Who knows what he's going to look like in a couple years? Like, he's had so many nose jobs that things probably going to collapse in a couple years. So what I'm trying to say with that, eventually beauty fades. So what are you going to have? So whomever's next in line for that guy, good luck and whatever. But the show's interesting. You get to see a lot of younger couples that have relationships and how they're navigating. It's interesting to see Kristen back. She's always entertaining on TV from Vanderpump Rules. She's still a hot mess in her relationship, so at least that's guaranteed and always something to watch. The friend dynamic is interesting. Now that they have filmed, I believe that there are 2 couples that have split, Jackson Brittany being one and another. So that's just season 1, and that has aired, or is I guess has wrapped. So let's see what happens for season 2, how those splits will affect the casting and filming. So we shall see. Moving on through Vanderpump Rules, Hulu has a new series out with Lisa Vanderpump, the goddess Lisa Vanderpump. She is fantastic. She is classic. She is elegant and hardworking. That woman works. And, you know, she really is. She pumps it out. And how can you not like Lisa Vanderpump? She's saucy. She's elegant. She's chic. She's smart. And I do enjoy her relationship with Ken. I think they are adorable, and Ken lets her take the lead. He knows how to support his lady, and he loves it, and he chimes in when he needs to, his hips and all, and he loves the dogs. You need me to carry that dog, honey? You need to carry that purse for you, honey? That's Ken, and I love Ken, and Ken's great. She has a new show on Hulu called Vanderpump Villa, where she has taken over a villa in France, and she has taken on this group of people to that have areas of specialty in hospitality to take over the villa and run it. And it's kind of like I'd like to say it's like a Vanderpump slash Below Deck kind of, I would say mix, where you have to work with everybody and it's kind of a hospitality, but you also have to live with them as well in that space. And that dynamic has got to be insane because you never really get a break. I don't know how many have worked in the hospitality industry, the restaurant industry, hotel industry, whatever that expansion of hospitality is. It can be a relatively insane dynamic. It is an insane environment. It really is. You have so many personalities. It is a fast-paced dynamic. A lot of quick-moving wheels are in action, and plus then throw in customer service. It's interesting, and you're doing it all for tips. So the things that you will do for a few dollars for tips is you just never know until you're in that situation. That's for sure. So, but the great thing about restaurants and hotels and anything, especially tip service, is that at the end of the day or wee hours of the morning or night, whatever it may be when you clock off, you get to walk home with your tips and you walk home and you don't have to deal with these people. It's done. But to live like on Below Deck and things like that, in this villa, you must live in the same space with those people. So if you don't like them or you have a fight, it carries over. And if you don't resolve it or nip in the bud right away, it can really get ugly quite quickly. And everybody's had a work environment. We all know what it's like when you have like an altercation or you don't really like somebody or there's tension. But then to go to bed with that and then wake up and then stare at them in the face again and it's still there, gross. It's bad enough when you get to go home, sleep on it, and then the next day you see them at work. But that must be tough. So this is interesting. And of course, if you have that kind of environment, and then you add Lisa Vanderpump with a little bit of a poke comment kind of there and a little bit of sarcasm and the pressures of work and customer service. It's good. It's good. I can't wait to sit back, enjoy, and watch it. And to add a little bit of the Lisa Vanderpump flair, I am here for it. Now, kind of speaking about Below Deck, I don't know if you saw this last episode of Below Deck. Jill Zarin was on this episode. She was not a primary of the yacht. She was a friend of the primary. And as much as I liked Jill Zarin on the original seasons of Roni, the original Housewives of New York, I liked her kind of, pushy aunt kind of approach. She had great wisdom. You could tell that when she loves somebody and she cares for somebody, she goes hard. She loves them hard. She loves them a lot. She wants to be in that almost overbearing kind of overprotective role because she loves so hard. And I think that there's something beautiful and wonderful about that. But sometimes the approach and delivery can be overbearing to too many and to some, and can come off in a very direct and harsh way and can backfire. And it definitely shows its roaring head during Housewives, and that's kind of why she was asked to leave. But it also came off so hard and so overbearing in this episode Below Deck, because, like I said, she was just a friend of the primary, and it was so harsh and so direct. And although I have to say her advice wasn't bad, she had really good advice for the staff. Poor Fraser, I can see how the sweat of distress on him, because like I said, if you've ever worked in that customer service hospitality industry, when you have somebody that is overly bearing and excessively high maintenance, it's just stressful, because no matter what you do, they're going to run you ragged, and they're never going to be pleased with no matter what you do. And people kind of like Jill Zarin, you have some people that are just direct. And she is direct, but there's also that level of kind of passive aggressiveness. Oh, thank you, but it's okay. But it's not okay. You say it's okay, but it's kind of backhanded. It's okay, like I'll be happy, but I'm not happy, because she's complaining about it. I'm not going to complain, but let me tell you how I'm not happy, so I'm going to complain. That's kind of the approach that Jill Zarin has. And anybody who's been in the industry, that customer service. So they run you ragged. And the worst part usually, and we haven't gotten to the tipping phase, Jill Zarin. So please, I hope you are a heavy-handed tipper, because if not, that will pop up. But if you are going to run somebody ragged and just work them excessively and not really be happy with what you get service-wise, you better tip heavy. If you do not tip heavy and you just essentially harassed and abuse your server and your staff, then you're just an asshole. You're just an asshole, because you can see that there's actually wanting to from the service perspective, that you want to have pride in your job. You're not there because you don't want to be there. You actually like what you do for the most part. Those who do not like the job, you can tell, and they don't make it long. But those who are actually in the service industry, I'm having a hard time spinning out, like Fraser and other chief stews and other individuals that are on the crew that have been there for a while, you can see that they like what they do, and they have pride in their job, and they truly want to make the experience for the individual who is chartered the boat. They want to make that a beautiful memory, a lifelong experience. So to do that to the server and then not tip them after you harass and abuse them, shame on you. So you better be heavy-handed, Jill. Like, not only does everybody need to tip heavy, Jill, you need to go in behind them and give them an extra tip. Say, I know I was over the top. I know I can be a little bit daunting, but at the end of the day, you were great. Servers, Fraser, the whole team. Here's your additional tip. That's what you need to do. If you do not do that, Jill Zarin, it is not going to go well for you. And just remember, this is another Bravo show. You don't want to be kicked off another Bravo show. You were on The Real Housewives of Roni. Got asked to pause, break, leave, whatever it may be, but you didn't come back. Then you were on the Ultimate Girls Trip. I kind of liked you on the Ultimate Girls Trip too. You were a little bit more quiet, although you were promoting everything under the sun that you had. But hey, you're a businesswoman, smart businesswoman. Good on you. You take an opportunity when you get it. I like that. But still a little overbearing, but you kind of did take a bit of a step back, right? And that was great for you. This, you are way too overbearing, too heavy-handed on the thoughts and opinions and excessiveness. Although, again, weren't necessarily wrong. They should have had the toiletry things in the bathrooms. And I feel like there are some things that have been dropped a bit, but sometimes delivery is everything, Jill. So just remember that. You want to come back, delivery is everything, and soften it up just a bit. Direct is nice, but I guess, it's how to delivery. I do get it. That is kind of said often to me. I can be a nonsense kind of girl, and I am direct myself. And I get that a lot sometimes. So, I understand your directness, and I appreciate that about you, Jillian. But delivery sometimes is everything. Sometimes your directness can be misconstrued as harshness. And so I guess I'm working on that. I'll keep working on it. Still tender, very soft, and as anyone can be, but I get you, Joe, in that department, and I guess we're working on it. We can always be works in progress, right? So moving on to a little bit of some other kind of pop culture entertainment news, I would like to say congratulations to Taylor Swift, although she probably needs no more. She's just crushing it in literally everything that she does. She's just a wonder. And she just made the Forbes billionaire list. So not only is she, there you go, Taylor, an absolute icon. And speaking of icons, congratulations to Cher. I am a massive fan of Cher, the great, the legend, Cher. So she received a Icon Award at the iHeart Radio Awards the other day. Congratulations to Beyonce and all the other award winners to the iHeart Radio Award ceremony. And Ludacris, you were good too. Good little host. Lady Gaga, congratulations to Lady Gaga. She's actually kind of breaking out into her acting genre again. She is filming the new Joker movie, and she's going to be the new Harley Quinn. And I got to tell you, I think that is great casting, and I think she can be incredible. She's so talented. What can she not do? When it comes to anything in the arts, she is just absolutely phenomenal, untouchable, and like so few that of entertainers that break out of the music industry and go into acting. She's incredible. She really is. Cher too, Moonstruck. She's done so many great roles in acting. I love Cher. Everybody should know she's just the great, and she transcends all generations. Her music is just fantastic, and that's why everybody loves her, and she's timeless. And even today, she still looks great. She's got a young thing for her partner right now. So seems like she always seems to be living her best life, but she's really living a good life right now. And do your victory lap, girl, because you have earned it. You are amazing. And congratulations to Cher, Beyonce, everybody. But Gaga, you are fantastic. Congratulations to you. You nabbed another role. I think you're going to be great in it. And Joaquin Phoenix is just such a phenomenal actor. Such a phenomenal actor. It should be good to see him. He really captures like the darkness and that kind of like that instability of the character of the Joker. Like, I don't think anybody else has, although Jack Nicholson really harnessed that kind of instability in the character really, really, really well. But Joaquin Phoenix, he is just such an incredible actor. He really is. Unfortunately, the Napoleon movie, he was good actor in that as well, but I was not a fan of it. And I have to tell you, everyone, I am a history buff. I love history. I read everything history. I'm a history documentary movie buff. That's my passion. I love it. Unfortunately, I was not a fan of the movie, and I'm so bummed about it because I really, really was hoping that Napoleon was going to be great. It's such a great story. He lives such an interesting life, complicated individual, but great story. And Ridley Scott, who's such an incredible director, I don't know if he was just trying to tell too much of his life and try to fit it all into the movie, but I felt like that movie was so fragmented that you really couldn't get to enjoy it as a whole. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion, although I am a huge fan of Joaquin Phoenix. So Joaquin Phoenix, Lady Gaga, I think that's going to be quite the Joker force, and I am ready for it. So speaking of documentaries, I don't know if you have seen some of the new documentaries they're come out on Hulu. I love documentaries. I also am an insomniac, so I have a lot of problems sleeping. So late at night, when the house is quiet and everyone's asleep, I tend to stay up and either watch documentaries, the History Channel, or any really good story I can get my hands on too. It's my thing. And I love listening to podcasts, and I constantly have to be hearing and downloading and processing something, either it be news, history, anything. I have to have that constant feed in my head of something going on, good, bad, or ugly and different, but that's how it is. So maybe that's why I'm just always so scattered a lot of times in my thoughts. But if you haven't watched the new documentary, Quiet on the Set, it's on HBO Max, and it tells the story of child actors in the early 2000s, and most of it's mostly about Nickelodeon, the Nickelodeon studios, and a lot of the Dan Schneider and some of the other people that worked under him on his shows that were going on in the 90s, and talking about that type of really hostile and negative work environment space. And I found it fascinating. I found it interesting. You have, over the years, you've heard about this, you've read about stories like this coming out of Hollywood. You can see a lot of times what happens to child actors as they grow and evolve into adults and adulthood. I feel, and this is my personal opinion, that so few make it out unscathed. That you don't hear a lot about them in the news or the media, that things that have gone wrong, or how chaotic their life is, or what challenges or problems or addictions or struggles of all kinds that they have. I mean, it's really sad and tragic to hear how many child actors, of all generations. Geez, look at, Judy Garland. Oh my God, that story. And if you don't know much about Judy Garland, the woman who played the Wizard of Oz, Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz, what an incredible gift to the entertainment world. But what such a tragic story of the things that happened to her. And this was early on. You need to hear what happened to poor, like Shirley Temple on the set back in her times and when she was young. So, but from what I understand, and you don't really hear much about what happened to Shirley Temple, but she seemed to actually be one of the normal ones. But poor Judy Garland, and there's so many other people, child actors that have turned into, their story has just been so tragic. So this documentary, Quiet on the Set, is about what that environment behind filming on these child shows was like. So they talked about the Amanda Bynes show that she had when she was on Nickelodeon. And I have to tell you, Amanda Bynes, another genius. When she was young, and I am older than that age group. It is true. I am a Generation Xer. But so I was older. But even as a young adult, I could appreciate the genius that was of this young actress, Amanda Bynes. Because I remember seeing her like on, like that's kind of when a lot of like the like TMZs and a lot of the the paparazzi and the tabloids and the things were really hitting big in the late 90s and the early 2000s. Like it was really kind of really popping up everywhere with the young Paris Hiltons and the Lindsay Lohans and the Britneys. These poor women at that time, they had to endure so much because they were just out everywhere. And they were child stars trying to grow up, or socialites trying to grow up and navigate as a young adult in this new chapter of their life. And it's hard for anyone, when you step out of the late teens into your early 20s to figure it out anyway. And there's a lot of fun and a lot of bumps in the road, a lot of, poor choices and good choices along the way. But it takes a lot of sometimes fumbling to get there to make those choices and those good life decisions. So that's why there's an expression, young and dumb, you live and learn. So to see how awful and the shows can be, and just how it just destroyed like the characters of, and I'm talking about the personal individual beings of these child actors, how some of them hit abuse. And Drake Bell talks about his abuse and how it destroyed his life. And you hear a lot of the other child actors talk about how, all they could do is all they could ever dream about their entire life is they want to get on TV and they want to be like this success. And, they love performing and having an audience, and that is their great passion. And there's nothing more in the world that they want to do. And they finally get this opportunity of a lifetime at such a young age. And to have it be so, such a struggle, and just to slowly chisel out their confidence, chisel away at their ego. Some of them got egos because they were lifted up, and some of them just crushed their egos and their souls and their confidence, and just gave them such a poor reflection upon themselves because they didn't live up to what, somebody else maybe on the cast had said, or some other cast members, or they weren't treated equally. And there's this one story about this one child actor, and I think he said he was either on the Amanda show or all that, but his mom was constantly on the set, and she was considered more of the vocal parent, or the more of the, I don't want to say combative, contentious parent, because she would call out a lot of the, inequalities that was going on the show. Like, hey, that doesn't seem right. This seems a little, a little questionable in these statements, or this kind of, innuendo seems a little inappropriate, and this doesn't seem, right. And I don't want my child or my son to have to do this because it's just, he shouldn't be doing this. So therefore that child actor wasn't asked back for another season. And the mother said, I was considered the problem parent. So, since my son wasn't asked back for the following season, that ultimately kind of was the defining moment in a relationship, and that broke us. And our relationship was never the same. And, and she said, just looking back now, what me being so vocal about what was happening and what I thought was just wrong. And there was a lot of inappropriateness happening, and nobody was speaking up for the other children or my child. And the fact that I did and was calling it out, my child suffered the consequences, but those consequences ended up in the long run protecting my child. Like he still suffers damage emotionally from it. And he talks about how he's had to go through therapy and he's suffered some through those challenges of what he experienced on that brief time on that show and in the industry. But to hear the mom just be like, that really broke our relationship. And, it affected us forever. And at the long run, me being the strong person that I am and being the protective parent that I am probably saved him so much pain, suffering, agony, and other abuse mentally, psychologically, and eventually possibly even sexual abuse, because there was eventually sexual abuse on those shows. So really interesting to watch. It really puts a lot of the conversation that's been around in the acting industry, entertainment world about how bad it is of an industry, not only for women, but for children. And it's a very interesting documentary. I didn't think that I would enjoy it, but I actually did enjoy it. I found a lot of it interesting and just keeps you aware. And the more you are aware, and if people watch things like that and expose them to just things that they can see in the world, or give them clues that if you see something in a different situation and it just seems off, maybe it's off and maybe you should just inquire, right? If you see something, say something. There is truth to be said about that. So that wasn't a very interesting documentary. Another documentary that was just released on Max is called Truth versus Alex Jones. And Alex Jones was the host of the show InfoWars. Got to tell you, never a fan. I thought I just personally found him repulsive with the rhetoric that he spewed out. I felt it was just hate-filled and just negative and just spewing out ignorance. It was just conspiracy theories with no backing, just pardon my language, but absolute preposterous craziness. And I couldn't stand him. So I found this really interesting, this documentary, because it was showing the actual legal cases that the Sandy Hook families sued Alex Jones for. Now, if you're not familiar with the massacre at Sandy Hook, it was an elementary school in Connecticut that a shooter came in and ended up killing, I think they said 24 people in the school, and most of them were very, very young elementary students. And when you hear the cop one of the cops that showed up on the scene, and he knows every individual who perished that day by name, it was just heart-wrenching. Like, I really was crying when I was bawling, actually, when the cop was on, and he was so stoic and so strong, but you could see that it has stayed with him. It has just scarred his memory and his soul forever to see such absolute terror and horror and just absolute awful. It's just everything awful and horrendous that you could never imagine this man witnessed. And oh my God, these poor families. And so they suffered this awful massacre, lost their babies in this school shooting, loved ones, teachers, aides, principals, but these babies. I mean, some of these, they're 6 years old, these children. Some of these children were 6 years old, and they ranged in other age, but just starting their life. And these parents and loved ones suffered just the most enormous and excruciating and horrendous loss that one, I think, could ever endure. And it being so public, but then to have someone, this individual, Alex Jones, go on his platforms, which his podcasts and his shows and his YouTube channels, and just spew such nonsense and rhetoric that this massacre never happened, that these parents and loved ones of teachers and everyone else, mothers, fathers, children, sisters, brothers, that all lost their life for nonsense because somebody was upset. To have them just put on blast for 10 years, a decade, that this didn't happen. Sandy Hook was not real. These families and people are making it up for profit, for gain, and to get attention is absolutely deplorable. It is disgusting. It is vile. And he did it for 10 years. And the amount of people that have believed Alex Jones along these years and harassed these families and just has been awful, and would go up to these families and say, your child did not die in Sandy Hook. You're lying. I mean, it is unfathomable to me what these parents and loved ones had to endure for a decade. So they had every right to go after this man and sue him for defamation, pain and suffering. For anything that you can get liable for, you should. So this documentary, Truth versus Alex Jones, was these families fighting for him to speak the truth. And he had to pay for it. It's cost him billions. He's cleared for bankruptcy. And still to this day, at the end of the documentary, it says that Alex Jones has declared bankruptcy and has not paid one penny to these families. So I find it absolutely repulsive, utterly disgusting, and I hope he is stopped and ceased. I'm sure, like, individuals like him, they have that taste for fame, and someone like him it's like a cockroach. You just can't get rid of him. So I'm sure he'll be back on some platform at some level. I'm sure he is right now, and trying to gain money and trying so he can get back to his former level of what he feels of importance, of status, of fame. But he's repulsive, and individuals like him should be stopped. So this is a really interesting documentary to watch. If you have the time, you have a sick day, or just time where you can't sleep, a moment where the night is long, an interesting documentary to watch for sure. So moving on to a little bit of some current events that are happening right now, I'd like to put out our hearts to the people of Taiwan. They had just had that awful earthquake. I think it was a 7.4 earthquake that happened in the early morning hours. So to anyone, to the country over there, to families, loved ones, anyone, friends, anyone who may be affected, our hearts really go out to you. To everybody in the world who's going through challenging times, our heart goes out to you. So everyone from Polywine, think of the good times today. Be grateful for what you have. I hope you could enjoy a few moments of laughter today, but take the time to smile, be grateful for what you have, and be kind to others. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Also, check us out on Polywine Time on the gram and our YouTube channel, Polywine. Have a great day.